Isabella and Chidinma were daughters of a billionaire. Their lives were filled with joy. But that joy did not last. The day their parents died, everything changed. Their own uncle turned against them. Not because they did wrong, but simply because they were not boys. He drove them out of their home and told them to survive the way other desperate girls did for money. On their way to their auntie's house, something worse happened. Hard men kidnapped them. From that moment, their lives were no longer theirs. They were sold, not only to billionaires but even to the billionaires' dogs. This is not just a story. This is reality. Happens every day. Has broken families. Has taken children away from parents forever. Before we dive deeper into this story, don't forget to tell us where you are watching from. Down in the comments.
Before we unravel today's story, make sure to like, comment, and share. You're watching the Global Storyteller Official, where every tale leaves a mark.
Isabella and Angela were only 18 when life turned upside down. They were billionaire twins, daughters of a man whose name commanded respect across Lagos and beyond, and of a woman whose elegance was the pride of every gathering. They grew up knowing nothing but abundance. Polished marble floors beneath their feet, chandeliers glittering above their heads, fleets of sleek cars lined up in the compound, and staff who treated them like royalty. Yet despite the wealth, the girls carried their own dreams. Isabella wanted to become a pilot, to conquer the skies and honor her father's passion for travel. Angela, quieter but sharp, dreamed of becoming an engineer, building the kind of machines that powered their father's empire. Both sisters had a future as bright as the morning sun. But one night brought a darkness they never expected. The call came after midnight. Their parents' private jet had gone down on its way back from London. There were no survivors. The news ripped through their hearts like fire. One moment they were daughters, the next moment they were orphans. The mansion that once rang with laughter now echoed only with silence and unanswered prayers. Isabella and Angela clung to each other in their father's study, staring at his portrait, unable to understand how a lifetime of love could vanish in a single crash. In the days that followed, family members and neighbors trooped in. At first, the twins thought they had come to comfort them. Tears were shed, condolences were whispered, hands were placed on their shoulders. But behind the pitying faces lay something else, something darker. Eyes lingered too long on the gold frames, the furniture, the land documents. What the twins did not yet know was that those who came in the name of family were already plotting their downfall. Soon after, their father's brothers gathered for a meeting. The twins were told it was to discuss the future, to secure their place, to protect them since they were still young. One uncle even stood up and said, "My daughters, don't cry. Your father was the richest among us. You will never suffer." Those words gave the girls a flicker of hope. They believed their uncles would step in to guide them through the storm. But little did they know, that was only the beginning of their problems. Weeks after the funeral, one of their uncles, who had worked closely in their father's company, called for another meeting. Isabella and Angela sat with the rest of the family, expecting comfort, maybe even plans for their education. Instead, what they heard shattered them. The uncle cleared his throat and announced, "Your father's company is drowning in debt. He owed a foreign firm billions. The money you think is waiting for you has already been used to pay off what he owed." Angela froze, her heart pounding. Isabella, fiery and fearless, jumped to her feet. "That's a lie," she cried, her voice shaking but strong. "Our father never owed any debt. He built this empire with his sweat and blood. Don't you dare insult his name." But before her words could sink in, another uncle stormed to his feet. His palm came down hard across Isabella's face. The sound echoed through the room. "Keep quiet," he barked. "You girls know nothing. You have 2 weeks to pack your things. This house has been sold to settle the debt." Angela gasped and held her sister as tears streamed down Isabella's cheek. Their world, already broken by grief, now shattered into pieces. In that moment, the twins realized the bitter truth. They were not only orphans, they were prey in a family that saw them as obstacles, not blood. The wealth, the mansion, the company, the dreams of becoming a pilot and an engineer. All of it was being stripped away. That was the day their real battle began. The meeting with their father's brothers dragged on, the air thick with tension. One of the uncles leaned forward, his eyes cold. "You two should stop deceiving yourselves. You are only girls. If you want money, go out there and do what other girls are doing on the streets. At least then you can feed yourselves." His words cut deeper than any slap. Angela clutched Isabella's hand, her body trembling in disbelief. Before the twins could respond, a voice rose from the corner. It was their father's sister, a woman who had been silent throughout the arguments. "I don't believe my brother owed a single debt," she said firmly, her voice sharp with conviction. Heads turned toward her. The men frowned. They had kept her out of the secret family meeting because she was a woman, but now she stood her ground. "Everything you are saying is a lie. My brother was not a thief, and I will not stand here and watch you destroy his children." The room erupted into chaos. Voices clashed, accusations flew, and fists nearly rose. The aunt, though she did not have much, turned to Isabella and Angela with tears in her eyes. "Do not worry, my daughters. You will not be left alone. Arrange your things. I will return in 2 weeks to take you with me." Her words were like a flicker of light in their darkness. But the light did not last. Before the 2 weeks could pass, the brothers returned. Without pity, they stormed the mansion and ordered the girls out. Isabella and Angela begged, tears streaming down their faces, but the men were unmoved. Their few belongings were tossed into bags, and the mansion gates slammed shut behind them. Standing outside, the twins turned to look at their father's home one last time. The house that had once been their palace now rejected them. They whispered goodbye through their sobs, tears rolling down their cheeks, knowing the life they once knew was gone forever. With trembling hands, they called their aunt. Her voice cracked with worry. "Enter the next bus. Come to me. I will be waiting." Holding each other tightly, the sisters boarded a bus heading toward her town. They sat shoulder to shoulder, crying quietly, their hands locked together as though afraid the world might tear them apart. But fate was not done with them. On a lonely stretch of road, headlights suddenly flashed across the bus. Armed men appeared from the darkness, waving guns. "Stop or we shoot," they shouted. The bus screeched to a halt. Panic filled the passengers as they were forced out at gunpoint. The robbers barked orders. "We want all the women and girls." "Men, get back into the bus and leave." Cries of protest filled the night. Husbands begged, fathers pleaded. "Please do not take our wives, our daughters." But the robbers were merciless. Shots fired into the air silenced the protests. The men obeyed, retreating to the bus while the women and girls were herded to the side. The robbers' eyes fell on Isabella and Angela. "These two are beautiful," one of them sneered. "Exactly what we need." Terror flooded the twins' veins. Just as they were being dragged away, a man stepped forward bravely. "These are my daughters," he shouted. "Please do not take them. I beg you." The robbers laughed. One of them pulled the trigger. The bullet tore into his shoulder, and he fell to his knees, blood soaking his clothes. The twins ran to him, their tears mixing with his blood as they tried to stop the bleeding with trembling hands. "Where are you from? Who can we call?" Isabella asked desperately. The man gasped, trying to speak, not knowing his own wife was among the women taken. Moments later, the robbers ordered the march to begin. They pushed the women into the depths of the forest. The night swallowed their cries, their futures uncertain. Isabella and Angela, clutching each other with terror, knew that their suffering had only just begun. The night faded into a cold morning, but for Isabella, Angela, and the other women, there was no comfort in the sunrise. The armed men dragged them from where they had slept under guard and forced them into the back of a rusty truck. The engine roared as it pulled away, carrying them deeper into the unknown. Inside the truck, fear was heavy in the air. Some women wept quietly, others prayed under their breath. Isabella squeezed Angela's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. Angela leaned close, whispering, "Where are they taking us now?" Isabella shook her head, her voice trembling. "I don't know, but wherever it is, we will face it together." The sisters locked eyes, holding on to each other as though that bond was the only thing left to protect them. The truck jolted along rough roads. Suddenly, the back door clanged open and a tall giant man with skin dark as night and eyes full of cruelty stepped inside. His deep voice silenced the sobbing. "Enough of this crying and useless questions," he barked. "If you want to know where we're taking you, I'll tell you. We are taking you to a place where young women disappear forever. Place where evil lives. A place where money is made from human bodies." The women gasped, their cries turning into wails of despair. Isabella and Angela clung to each other, tears streaming down their cheeks. The giant sneered. "Now you understand. You are in the hands of dangerous men. Obey us, or we will waste your lives without a second thought." Silence fell. Everyone trembled, too terrified to speak. Meanwhile, far away, their aunt sat by her phone, trying again and again to call the twins. Each time the call failed. Her heart sank with every unanswered ring. She whispered prayers, her hands shaking, knowing something terrible had happened. In the truck, some women had already surrendered to fate. "Let whatever will happen happen," one muttered through her tears. But others still wept, unable to let go of hope. An older woman, her face lined with sorrow, reached out to the twins. "My children, stop crying now. The only thing left for us is to pray for mercy, because these men are not ordinary men." Angela, her voice breaking, asked, "Then what are they?" The woman's eyes filled with dread. "I have heard stories. Some kidnap people and sell their body parts. Others sell women to powerful men. And some are used for rituals." The words struck the twins like lightning. Their hearts pounded violently, the sound loud in their ears. Isabella shook her head in disbelief. "No, it cannot be." The older woman lowered her voice. "We must find a way to escape before we reach where they are taking us." But it was already too late. The truck screeched to a halt. The doors flew open and armed men barked orders. "Everybody out!" They stumbled onto the ground and looked around. It was a vast compound hidden deep inside the forest. Armed guards stood everywhere, their guns glinting under the sun. Barbed wire and tall fences turned the place into a prison. The air smelled of damp earth and something darker, fear itself. From the largest building a figure emerged. She was strikingly beautiful, with skin like polished bronze, hair flowing down her back, and the poise of a queen. But her eyes were cold, her smile cruel. She walked slowly toward the captives, her heels clicking on the stone pathway. "Welcome," she said, her voice smooth but deadly. "Welcome to your new home. This is where you belong now. Each of you is here for a reason, for a purpose. And if you fail to fulfill that purpose..." She paused, her eyes narrowing. "You will see things your mouth cannot describe." The women shrank back in terror. The twins clung to each other, trembling. The woman's gaze swept over the group, then stopped on Isabella and Angela. Her lips curved into a wicked smile. "Ah, you two. You look alike. Are you twins?" Angela fell to her knees, tears streaming. "Yes, we are twins. Please forgive us. Set us free. We just lost our parents. Our aunt is waiting for us. We have nowhere else to go." The woman tilted her head back and laughed, a sound that chilled them to the bone. "Your aunt," she mocked. "Forget her. This is your home now." Her name was Madam Seraphina, a name that would soon strike fear into the hearts of everyone who entered her domain. Madam Seraphina's cold laughter still echoed in the compound when her eyes hardened. "Forget your aunt," she said. "She will live her life, and you will live yours. This is your new home. Here you will learn things that make rich men happy." Her words stabbed the twins like knives. Angela's eyes widened with horror, and Isabella's voice cracked with anger. "What do you mean? We are not goods to be sold. We are human beings." The compound froze. Madam Seraphina's smile vanished, replaced by a glare sharp enough to cut steel. So, you want to challenge me in my own caban? She clapped her hands. Guards! 2 giant men appeared instantly, their muscles like stone. Take them to room 3. Let them learn what respect means. Isabella and Angela kicked, struggled, screamed, but the guards were too powerful. Their wrists were gripped like chains, dragging them across the dirt. They were thrown into a filthy room with cracked walls, a broken bed, and a single barred window. The stench of damp rot filled the air. The door slammed shut, the lock echoing like thunder. For 3 days they remained there. Hunger gnawed at their stomachs, thirst dried their lips. In the darkness, they whispered to each other. Angela, what is this place? Isabella asked, her voice shaking. Angela pressed her head against the wall. I think this is human trafficking. Remember what Mama and Papa used to warn us about. People who take young girls and use them for evil. Isabella closed her eyes, tears falling. I thought things like this only happened in movies. Angela gripped her hand tightly. No, sister. This is real. And now, it has happened to us. By the 5th day the door creaked open. Madam Seraphina stepped in, her perfume masking the stench of the room. She looked at the girls with mocking pity. So, have you learned respect? Are you ready to cooperate? Or should I lock you here again? The twins were too weak to argue. Their bodies trembled, their voices gone. They nodded slowly. Good, Seraphina said. It is time you met the one who will guide you into your new life. She led them out, passing through long corridors. From behind closed doors, they heard muffled cries, whispers, and sounds that made their stomachs churn. Their steps faltered, but Seraphina pushed them forward until they reached a luxurious room. Inside sat a tall, elegant woman with a false smile. This is Ms. Maya, Seraphina announced. She will teach you how things work here. Ms. Maya's eyes glimmered with a strange mixture of charm and cruelty. Welcome, my little birds, she said sweetly. I will show you everything you need to know. Rule number 1. Forget your old names. Clients will call you whatever pleases them. Rule number 2. Forget your family. In here there is no family. There is only survival. Angela broke down, sobbing. Please, Ms. Maya. We are still young. We don't belong here. Maya chuckled, her voice dripping with malice. Yes. That is exactly why you belong here. Men with power prefer girls like you. The younger the better. You are valuable. The twins froze, horror etched into their faces. Seraphina and Maya exchanged a knowing glance before leading them toward another building, grander than the rest. As doors opened one by one, Maya's words chilled them to the bone. Here is where the wealthy make their demands. Some men like innocence. Some demand strange fantasies. Some want to break girls until they have no will left. And others pay fortunes for things darker than you can imagine. Angela's grip on Isabella's hand tightened as her knees threatened to give way. The world spun, their hearts pounded, and the cruel truth settled over them. Their nightmare had only just begun. The twins sat stiffly in the luxury room as Ms. Maya circled them like a predator. Her voice was calm but sharp, each word meant to wound. Isabella, the braver of the two, could no longer contain her rage. She jumped to her feet, her voice trembling with fury. "Na lie. No man go take that nonsense as fantasy. We are not toys." The room went silent. Ms. Maya's smile stretched slowly across her face, like a snake preparing to strike. "Sit down," she hissed. "You know nothing about fantasy. Rich men pay any amount just to satisfy their desires. And you too," she paused, her eyes glittering. "You are twins. Do you know how much that makes you worth? 60-70 million naira just for one night. Twins are special. You are treasures in this business." Angela's stomach turned violently at the words. She gripped Isabella's hand, her body shaking. Isabella's voice cracked, but she stood her ground. We no fit do that. Our parents raised us to be decent. We are good girls. We cannot do this. Madam Seraphina's voice sliced into the air like a whip. Your parents are dead, she spat. Forget them. Only smart girls survive here. If you want to live, you must learn quickly. Understand this. Your body is now your business. As long as you are in my world, you will do as I say. Refuse, and you will suffer until you beg for mercy. She clapped her hands, and guards appeared. Take them to the preparation room. In 2 days, their work begins. The girls were dragged into a room that looked nothing like the filth of room 3. This place gleamed with false beauty. Bright lights, scented oils, mirrors lining the walls. Women lounged in chairs, getting their nails polished, their hair styled, their faces painted. It looked like a spa, but beneath the gloss was the stench of slavery. An older woman stepped forward. She carried herself with quiet authority, her face marked by years of survival. I am Mama G, she said softly. Calm down, my daughters. Do not be afraid. This is not the end of life. Accept your fate and it will be easier. Fight, and it will only bring you pain. She touched their shoulders gently. Here you will eat well, wear fine clothes, make your hair. You will look beautiful. But only if you behave. She handed them short dresses, shoes, and makeup. The guards left them in her care. Hours later, when they stood before the mirror, they hardly recognized themselves. Their faces were painted, their bodies dressed in clothes that clung tightly to them. They looked older than their 18 years, glamorous on the outside but broken within. Tears slid down Angela's cheeks as she whispered, "This is not us. This is not who we are." Isabella stared at her reflection, her eyes empty. Mama G said nothing. She had seen this too many times. That evening, they were led into another room crowded with girls. The air buzzed with low chatter. Some girls laughed, but it was the laughter of people who had forgotten joy. Others whispered, their eyes hollow. A tall girl lifted her sleeve and revealed deep scars that covered her arms. I tried to escape, she said, her voice flat. Each time they caught me and beat me until I could not walk. Since then, I never tried again. The wounds spoke louder than her words. The twins' hearts sank. Isabella's fingers brushed Angela's, both sisters holding on to the last fragments of hope. Then another girl walked over, her eyes sharp, her voice edged with bitterness. My name is Gift, she said. Welcome to hell on earth. This is the place where you either follow the rules or you die trying to fight them. There is no escape. Forget freedom. Forget family. Forget the world outside. This is your new reality. The twins looked at each other with soft, sad faces, tears dripping silently down. In that moment, they realized that their fight was not only against Seraphina, Maya, or the guards. It was against the suffocating hopelessness that threatened to crush them from the inside. And for the first time since their parents' death, they wondered if they would ever see freedom again. The room fell into silence after Gift's bitter words. The twins clung to each other, their hearts trembling with fear. Isabella's eyes were swollen from crying, while Angela pressed her face against her sister's shoulder, too weak to speak. Gift studied them closely, her expression softening just for a moment. You are lucky, she whispered. You still have each other. Me. I had no one. Angela lifted her head, curiosity piercing through her fear. What do you mean? Gift sat on the edge of a worn mattress, her fingers tracing the scars on her arms. I was only 16 when they brought me here. My father sold me. Her voice cracked. He owed money, and these people offered him a way out. He told me I was going to live with relatives in the city. I believed him. That night they brought me here. She shook her head, bitterness coating every word. When I begged him to take me back, he looked at me and said, You are worth more this way. Since then, I never trusted anyone again. The twins gasped. Tears ran down Angela's cheeks. Isabella clenched her fists. That is wickedness. Gift forced a bitter smile. It is survival. People will do anything when money blinds them. Here I learned fast, either obey or suffer. Those scars you see, she lifted her arm again. They remind me what happens when you fight. The room grew heavier with sorrow. Then Mama G's calm voice broke through. She had been listening quietly, her eyes full of secrets. My daughters, she said gently, listen to me. I am old enough to be your mother. I know what it feels like to lose everything. Angela turned to her, eyes wide with desperate hope. Mama G, how did you come here? Mama G sighed deeply, her shoulders sinking with the weight of memory. I was once a mother of 3. I sold food in the market, struggling every day but managing. Then one evening men came in vans. They took women at random. I was one of them. For years I prayed someone would find me. My children, my babies. They grew up without me. I have not seen them in 10 years. Her voice broke, and for the first time, tears glistened in her tired eyes. When I first came I fought, cursed, cried every night. But I soon learned something. Tears do not move these people. They are not human. They do not care about your pain, your dreams, or your family. Here you either bend or you break. The girls were silent, their throats tight. Mama G reached out and held their hands. But you two are different. You are still so young. You have each other. That bond is your strength. Do not let them break it. Promise me whatever happens, you will hold on to each other. Angela nodded, tears streaming down her face. Isabella whispered, we promise. Gift looked away, wiping her eyes quickly. Promises are fine. But promises do not save you here. Rules do. Obey the rules, and maybe you survive long enough to see another day. The heavy silence was broken by a faint sound, laughter from another corner. A girl, no older than the twins, sat on her bunk painting her nails. Do not waste your time dreaming of escape, she said coldly. I tried twice. Once they beat me until I could not walk. The second time they chained me for weeks without food. Since then I smile, I obey, and I survive. That is all. The twins shuddered. The more they listened, the clearer it became. This place was a graveyard of dreams, where hope was crushed and only fear reigned. As night fell, the girls huddled together, listening to the cries echoing through the compound. Their minds replayed Mama G's words, Gift's scars, and the stories of those around them. They knew they were in hell. But in the darkness, Isabella whispered to Angela, we cannot give up. Mama and Papa would not want us to break. We must find a way, somehow. Angela held her sister tighter. Yes, together. And in that silent vow, a tiny flame of resistance flickered in their broken hearts. The third day in the compound dawned heavy with dread. Isabella and Angela clung to each other, their whispers barely audible. Is this really our life now? Angela asked, her tears soaking the pillow. Isabella could not answer. All she could do was hold her sister tighter. Later that morning, the twins gathered courage to ask the other girls a question that had been burning in their hearts. Do Madam Seraphina and Ms. Maya own this place? The girls exchanged glances. Then one of them shook her head. No, this place belongs to men. Powerful men. They only come here once in 3 or 4 months. But when they do, it is like death walking among us. The twins shivered. Isabella grabbed Angela's hand so tightly their fingers ached. Another girl leaned closer and whispered, never try to run. Those who tried are either buried in shallow graves or thrown into the darkest cells where screams never stop. Some were beaten until their bodies gave up. Here escape is death. Tears streamed down the twins' cheeks. They cried for their stolen innocence, for the trap they had stumbled into, for the endless challenges that had hunted them since their parents died. By the third day, the snake finally bared its fangs. Their first client had arrived. That afternoon, Ms. Maya stormed into their room with her cold smile. Get up. It's time to work. You've been eating our food, sleeping in our rooms, wasting our money. Today you start earning your place. Angela dropped to her knees, begging, please give us 1 more week. Let us understand this place. Let us prepare. But Ms. Maya's laughter cut her off, sharp and bitter. One more week. You think this is a school where we give you lessons before exams? You came here to serve. And you will serve today. Isabella shook her head fiercely. No, we can't. We won't. Ms. Maya's face hardened. Her eyes blazed with rage, her lips curling like a lion ready to devour. She snapped her fingers. Instantly, 2 guards thundered into the room, their heavy boots shaking the floor. Without mercy, they dragged the screaming twins through the corridor and shoved them into a luxurious suite that smelled of expensive perfume and foreign liquor. Inside, a man sat waiting on a velvet bed. His name was Mr. Cyril. He wore a perfectly tailored suit, his gold wristwatch glinting under the chandelier. The moment his eyes fell on the twins, he rose, smiling as if he had found a rare treasure. He loosened his tie and began unbuttoning his shirt slowly. "Come closer," he ordered. The twins froze, their legs trembling. Isabella, her voice breaking, asked, "Why are you doing this to us? Don't you have daughters of your own?" Mr. Cyril chuckled, the sound as cold as ice. "Of course. For 3 are married to rich men, and the youngest is still in the university." Angela's stomach twisted violently. She stared at him in disbelief. "You have daughters, and you still want to hurt us?" For a moment the man's face softened. He lowered his head, then looked up again with eyes that gleamed with cruelty. "Where are your parents?" he asked. "They died," Isabella whispered, her voice cracking. "In a plane crash." Mr. Cyril's lips curved into a wicked smile. "Good. That means you belong to me now. No one will look for you. No one will save you." The twins' hearts collapsed inside their chests. In that instant, they understood the depth of the evil they were trapped in. This man was not only wealthy. He was dangerous, heartless, and untouchable. That night, the luxury of the room turned into a chamber of despair. Their cries filled the walls, but no one came. By the time it was over, their voices were gone, stolen by agony. When the guards dragged them back to their room, their faces were pale, their bodies trembling, their spirits cracked. They curled into each other's arms, sobbing silently. For the first time, Isabella whispered words she never thought she would say. Maybe dying would be better than this. Angela buried her face in her sister's chest, whispering through her tears. "No, we must survive. Mama and Papa's blood runs in us. We cannot let them win." In the silence of the night, broken and scarred, the twins made a fragile vow. Somehow, someway, they would escape this living hell. The girls had barely recovered from their first night when Ms. Maya walked in. Her arms folded, her face unreadable. She tossed a bundle of cash on the table and smirked. "That's your first day of work. How was it?" The twins' faces were swollen, their eyes red from endless crying. They said nothing. They just returned to their room, holding on to each other as if the other was the only reason to keep breathing. Inside the room, the other girls welcomed them softly. "Don't cry," one said. "We've all been through it. You'll get used to it. You have no choice here." Another added bitterly, "Mr. Cyril is one of the worst. He never cares whether you cry, beg, or faint. He takes what he wants." The twins stared in disbelief. "So, this is how we'll live?" Isabella whispered. "Yes," the girl replied. "This is the way. Unless you choose death. Because escape here means death. Some tried, they were caught and killed. Others were thrown into the worst prisons, beaten until they could no longer walk. Here, freedom comes only at the price of life." Angela's lips trembled. "This is horrible. We can't live like this." The girl leaned closer, lowering her voice. "And if you really want to escape, there is only one condition. You must replace yourself with 10 other young girls. That is the price of freedom." The twins' stomachs turned, their faces pale with shock. "You mean, even Madam Seraphina and Ms. Maya?" "Yes," the girl cut her off. "Even they once suffered like us. They became who they are because they chose survival over death. They climbed the chain by destroying others. The weight of that truth crushed the sisters. People who once cried in pain now ruled with cruelty. Moments later, Ms. Maya returned. Her lips curved into a fake smile. "Get ready. Client is coming. And this one is special." Fear jolted through the girls. "No, please. Not again." "You have no choice," Maya snapped. "Refuse and you lose your life." She turned to leave but then paused. The twins, thinking she had gone, whispered about escaping. They didn't know she was still outside listening. She pushed the door back open, her expression cold but strangely fragile. "I heard everything," she said softly. The twins froze. Another girl fell to her knees, begging, "Please forgive us. We didn't mean it. We're just scared." But instead of anger, Maya sat on the bed beside them. Her voice cracked. "Do you think I never tried to escape? When I came here 5 years ago, I was just like you. They brought me and my 2 sisters, twins just like you. We were terrified. One night I ran. They caught me at the main road. They dragged me back and gave me 2 choices: work for them by bringing girls or watch my sisters die. I agreed. But even then," her voice shook, her lips trembling as tears rolled down her face. "They killed them anyway." The twins gasped. Tears filled their own eyes. Angela whispered, "I'm so sorry." Maya buried her face in her hands, sobbing quietly. "I don't want you girls to end up like me. I see my sisters in you. That is why I am telling you this. Today's client is dangerous. Politician with power and enemies. If you can record him, maybe, just maybe, you can use it one day to buy your freedom. But be careful. If he finds out, he will kill you. Me. And 20 other girls." The twins hugged her, their own tears wetting her shoulder. "Why are you risking this?" Isabella asked. "Because," Maya whispered, "maybe if I help you escape, my sister's spirits will finally forgive me." Minutes later, the door opened. A tall man walked in, his steps heavy with authority. His name was Mr. Bryan, one of the most feared politicians in the country. His wealth was endless, his enemies countless, his desires unspeakable. "Ah, the twins," he said with a smirk. "Just what I ordered." Maya leaned close, slipping a small recorder into their hands. "Hide it. Do not let him know. This may be your only chance." The twins nodded, their hearts pounding, their bodies trembling as they stepped into the lion's den. Inside, Mr. Bryan closed the door and set up his own cameras. "Everything will be recorded," he said, his voice thick with pride. "Because by tomorrow, people will pay just to watch." The twins looked at each other, tears brimming. Their nightmare was not ending. It was only becoming darker. The twins stepped into Mr. Bryan's luxury suite, their knees trembling. The room glittered with gold accents, velvet curtains, and expensive wine bottles lined on a glass shelf. It looked like a palace, but the air carried a stench of cruelty. Mr. Bryan moved with arrogance, adjusting his cufflinks as though he owned not just the room but the world itself. "You two are perfect," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "Twins. We're priceless." He smirked as he set up his cameras. "Everything tonight will be recorded. Because by tomorrow, people will pay millions to watch." Isabella felt her stomach turn. She whispered to Angela, "Stay close. Don't let go of my hand." Angela squeezed back tightly, her lips trembling. Hidden beneath the mattress, the small recorder Ms. Maya had given them blinked silently, capturing every word. "Why are you doing this?" Isabella asked suddenly, her voice breaking. "Don't you have children?" Mr. Bryan turned, his face hard. "Of course I do. A son studying abroad. 2 daughters in private universities. They live like royalty because of me." His smile widened cruelly. "And because of girls like you." The twins' hearts shattered. Angela's tears streamed freely. "How can you hurt us when you know we are someone's children too?" For a brief second, Mr. Bryan's expression flickered, but then it hardened again. "The world belongs to men with power. Weak people cry. Strong people take. That is life. The twins felt their strength draining away. But deep inside they clung to one truth. The recorder was capturing everything. Meanwhile, miles away, their aunt sat in her small living room, staring at her phone. Her calls still went unanswered. Every night she prayed for her nieces. That evening a neighbor came running. "Madam, come and see," he shouted. She rushed outside to find a group gathered around a man who had stumbled into the village square. His shirt blood-stained. It was the same man who had tried to defend the twins during the robbery. His shoulder was still wounded. As he collapsed, he gasped, "The girls, the twins, they were taken. A truck, into the forest." The aunt's heart shattered. She screamed, clutching her chest. "Where? Where exactly?" The man pointed weakly before passing out. The aunt wept, but for the first time she had a clue. Her girls were alive, somewhere in the forest. She swore she would not stop until she found them. Back inside the compound, Mr. Bryan poured himself a glass of wine, then paced slowly before the trembling twins. "Tonight," he said coldly, "you will learn that nothing in this world is free. Your tears, your screams, they are worth money. And I intend to collect." Angela whispered to Isabella, "He's evil. Pure evil." Isabella, though terrified, glanced at the bed where the recorder lay hidden. "Let him talk. Every word is a weapon." Mr. Bryan leaned in close, his breath chilling. "No one will save you. Your parents are gone. The world has forgotten you. The only life you know now is mine to control." The twins broke down in tears, clinging to each other. Their pain filled the room, but silently, the recorder captured his every confession, a fragile thread of hope in the darkest night. Outside the door, Ms. Maya leaned against the wall, her face pale, her hands shaking. She prayed silently that the recorder would remain undiscovered. For if Mr. Bryan found it, not just the twins, but everyone in the compound, including her, would pay the price. The twins froze as Mr. Bryan's voice filled the air. "Don't resist. These animals have been trained. If you fight, they will become aggressive, and you won't like what happens next." His smile was cold, his tone casual, as though he were speaking about something ordinary, not monstrous. Isabella and Angela clung to each other, their bodies trembling. Silent tears rolled down their faces as they realized the depth of the nightmare they were trapped in. Every second felt endless, every breath a battle. But beneath the fear, one thing gave them strength: the hidden recorder capturing every word. Hours crawled by before it was finally over. Mr. Bryan leaned back, relaxing with satisfaction, as though nothing terrible had happened. He poured himself another glass of wine and pulled out his phone. "Yes," he said into the receiver, his voice loud enough to be caught by the device. "The next branch will open in Abuja by next month. Will expand. Young girls are already being lined up. Make sure the officials handle their part." He mentioned names, powerful names. Politicians, businessmen, even government officials. One by one, the recorder stored their voices, their crimes, their corruption. What the twins had captured was not just proof against Mr. Bryan, but evidence that could expose an entire network. At last, he buttoned his shirt, adjusted his tie, and walked out, leaving the twins broken, silent, but still alive. Moments later, Ms. Maya rushed in. Her face was pale, her hands shaking. "Did you get it?" she whispered. With trembling fingers, Angela handed her the recorder. "Yes, every word, every call." Relief washed over Maya's face, but only for a second. She motioned for them to leave quickly. Just as they stepped toward the door, it burst open again. Mr. Bryan stood there, his sharp eyes narrowing. "I forgot something," he said, his tone deceptively calm. Then his gaze shifted to the twins. "Wait, before you go, I need to search you." The twins froze in terror. Their hearts pounded like drums in their chests. The recorder, their only hope, was still in Maya's hands, hidden within her dress. Angela swallowed hard, her knees shaking. Isabella gripped her hand, whispering under her breath, Don't break. Don't show fear. The room fell into silence, the air thick with dread. If Mr. Bryan discovered what they had done, it would not just be their lives on the line, but Maya's too, and perhaps every girl in the compound. The twins' tears slid silently down their cheeks as Mr. Bryan stepped closer, his eyes scanning them like a predator about to strike. And just before his hand reached out, the screen fades to black. Will Mr. Bryan discover the secret recording that could destroy him and his allies? Or will the twins and Ms. Maya succeed in protecting the evidence? The answer will shock you. If you're following this story, don't forget to like, comment, and share, because next episode will change everything.